So I was sitting here scrolling on YouTube and I came across this video of this woman giving her own perception or how she perceived her experience with womanhood. And she prompted her audience to ask themselves a question. When do you believe that you became a woman? And as I was sitting here listening to her video, a myriad of different things came and ran through my mind. um, the first time that I believe I became a woman, and it's probably not the answer that people are going to think, because, there are some people who are going to say when I lost my virginity, or when I got my period for the first time, when I started to develop. I believe that I became a woman for the first time when I realized that everybody else didn't perceive me as a child any longer. And I think this is different for different people. Um because we all have our, obviously we all have our different experiences. Um but I believe that I became a woman when the world stopped perceiving me as a child. And for me, that happened really quick. Um, because I have always been tall my entire life. I think I developed, I don't know, kind of quickly. I guess you would say I started to develop probably like around like 8 or 9. And I take if I'm taking a stroll down memory lane and I can think about my experiences with the outside world, I can remember walking to school as a little kid and having grown men look at me and my friends a particular kind of way and say things to us. And they knew we were kids. That's like the crazy part about it. Like growing up and realizing like that was some weird ass shit. It's so crazy. I think and I feel like every around the way girl, or not even just around the way, I'm just speaking from my own experience, but every around the way girl can attest to this. You probably got hollered at more before you turned 18 than you did as an adult. And it's so crazy how predatory this world is. Um and I'm thinking to myself like, damn, there were people who obviously knew I was a child but looked at me like I was an adult just simply because I was shaped a particular kind of way or because of my height. And if I'm being completely honest, because I think it's definitely a layered crush question, right? Like, really though, what is the rite of passage to womanhood? And for a lot of girls, it is experiencing adultification before you become an adult. It is a bunch of suffering, a bunch of pain, and I would like to sit up here and say that it's unfair, but as a woman, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? There's no way that you can change your sex. And I'm not even sitting up here saying that men don't have their own hardships and experiences and shit. But to be a woman is um it's not for the weak, right? There's a day in your life where you are gonna receive your period and you are gonna bleed for a very, 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 very long time. And then one day you're going to hit menopause, and then that's a whole nother cycle of bullshit. So women are essentially in pain until they die. Or some type of like suffering, or something is just constantly happening with our bodies until we leave this earth. Um, because it has been so normalized, because women being able to withstand pain from very young has been so normalized, a lot of people just write it off. Like, oh, you got your period, you can get over it. Oh, your hormones are changing, you'll get over it. Oh, your body is going through these different kind of feats. Oh, you'll get over it. Oh, you just had a baby, you'll get over it. Oh, you've reached menopause and you're having hot flashes, you'll get over it. Everything is about enduring some type of suffering, and I quite literally think it's bullshit. On the flip side, I do believe womanhood is very beautiful. To inherently be given the gifts of things like discernment, or what some people will call like intuition and different kind of things like that. um and and being able to stand in your own power and figure out what that is in a world that is constantly trying to keep you oppressed. I mean, it's poetically beautiful. For me, it's poetically beautiful. I'm a be for real. I didn't feel I didn't feel in my heart that I was a grown ass woman until, and a grown ass woman, not biologically, not by age, none of that shit. I didn't think that I was a grown ass woman until my 30s. Honestly. And it's not that I reached like this certain point where I felt like I was figuring shit out and all of this other different stuff. It was the point to which I decided to step into my own power. And even when I was making mistakes, I still decided to not look to blame anybody else for my bullshit, but to own it and then correct it in a way that made sense for me. The way that I'm able to stand in my power and put up boundaries when it comes to different kind of things, the way that I'm able to sit in my confidence when I'm not feeling or even looking the best, the way that I am willing to like trudge through different like life circumstances when I am feeling defeated, but getting up every day and willing to try. um yeah, I didn't feel that shit honestly until my 30s, and there's still parts of me that still feel very weak in ways. But like I said, womanhood for me is like tragically poetic, because if you even attempt to do it right, you will see all of the different gifts and you will see all of the different doors that open up, emotionally and spiritually for you, when you realize like this is your first time living. And regardless of what labels and things that the world tries to put on you, you can still choose to wake up every single day and say, I'm going to own exactly who the fuck I am. There was a point where I was like so male centered, and I think that's a heavy part about performing womanhood, right? There was a part of me who tried to other myself at a point, and I would be like, well, I'm not dressed like this and I'm not doing that, and I don't be turning around in pictures and showing ass and da da da. And I still don't do some of those things to this day. But then when I really thought about it, and when I thought about how I was going to show up in the world and how I wanted to be perceived, I am a myriad of different things. Some people would probably say that I'm super serious and militant and smart and all, but I'm also a very sexual woman. I'm a very sensual woman, right? I'm very whimsical and quirky and artistic, right? And poised, in a mess, all in the same vein. And I own all of that shit. But a part of me at a time was so male centered that I think that I was trying to be the idea of what men found attractive instead of what I found attractive, what I thought was dope, what I thought was cool. And like I said, it wasn't until my 30s where I was just like, fuck all of that shit. I really truly do believe that I was meant to go through every little thing that I was supposed to go through. Whether it was good or bad or what have you. But I will say this, right? I think my crossing over, and it happens and it's crazy it has to be like this for a lot of different women, but there is gonna be a time in your life, right, when you're probably male centered, you're probably a pick me or whatever, and you are gonna go through a breakup that changes your body chemistry, right? It's not gonna be like any other. It's gonna fuck you up. Can an event. And trust me, you don't see it coming until you're in the thick of it. I didn't see all of the emotions and the crashing out. I didn't see all of that shit coming, right? There is a point where you fall so deep in attachment, and you have this longing of like normalcy and all of these other different traditional things and shit, right? And then you realize like, God has got other plans for you. And unfortunately, I'm gonna have to throw a monkey wrench in your shit, because for me, right, I was I was in what I thought was um me experiencing a life with somebody and gaining normalcy, because forever my life has always been chaotic. I had always been with chaotic men, and I finally came across one who was on paper like normal, but he wasn't. His shit just was like, it came out in a different kind of way. And when I realized that I had to walk away from that situation, and that person didn't also fight for that situation, which I was used to, it took a hit to like my ego, number one. And then it taught me like, oh yeah, by the way, baby girl, um anybody is capable of hurting you in this way. Anybody, even the person who you least expect, they're capable of breaking your heart. And you shouldn't put so much stock in a person also having their own life experiences and performing a different kind of way, that you don't believe that anybody can't change their mind about you. Not even somebody who says that they love your fucking dirty drawers. You have to understand that anybody can walk out of your life at any fucking time, and you have to eat that. And when I was in that relationship, and when I was thinking to myself that I'm quote unquote with this so-called traditional person, and we talking about life together and all this, that, and the third, right? I was also going through a fucking spiritual awakening. I had everything stripped from me. I had to start over, and I started this podcast, and that's when I started unpacking all of my shit. And the more that I unpacked and unpacked and unpacked and I unpacked, guess what happened? Me and this person bumped heads more and more and more and more and more. Because what a lot of people don't tell you is that when you are in the thick of rediscovering yourself and unpacking your shit, that's a solo trip, babe. That's a solo trip. Sometimes you may have to take a step away from everybody in order for you to figure out who the fuck you are. And I'm not saying alienate people. I'm just saying that road, that hero's journey, is meant for one person and one person only. It's meant for you to have a season of solitude, because a lot of people don't understand when dealing with a man. And this is why I heard somebody say, she said, there's no way for you to truly love yourself and be with the man at the same time, because men require so much time, attention, and and for lack of a better phrase, it is kind of like having a child. When you start to prioritize yourself, and I'm talking about you and yourself only, and you realize like, damn, I may need to step away from this relationship because I'm discovering different parts of me, and I don't necessarily think or agree with the person you currently are, who I love, but I feel like this might not be a match. And you could be so male-centered. You are going through the stages of battling with yourself, like, well, this person isn't perfect, but nobody is. But it's not a situation where I have experienced before where it was extreme abuse and da-da-da. Like, yeah, we have our shit together or whatever, but maybe I could deal with his shit one whole time. No. No, 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 no. No, life is to be lived. Life is not meant for you to endure or have to tolerate somebody being around just because they're less of a piece of shit than anybody else. But anyway, I was in the thick of going through this spiritual awakening and thinking to myself that what I really wanted was normalcy, when really what I really craved was authenticity. Authenticity. It was me discovering more of myself, and the more that I became myself, the more I pushed away somebody, or the more that I realized that the person that I was with was realizing that I wasn't for them. Oh, I wasn't willing to fit inside these boxes. Oh, I wasn't willing to acquiesce to the different kind of things that women would usually tolerate within a relationship. And coming to that realization had me at a crossroads, because it's just like, damn, you really gotta say, uh, you are you picking yourself, or are you picking the circumstance with this person? Because I could be a woman who performs, right? I could be a woman who performs. I can get the ring. I can have the so-called normal family. I could have the kid. I could do all of that shit. Or I could stay in the thick of this shit, get rid of this person who clearly isn't in alignment with me, and continue to discover more of who I am and ascend, truly ascend. And that path is traveled, it's traveled alone. So I had this canon event, and I realized, like, I'm not the kind of woman who's supposed to sit by and perform. I'm not. I've never been that kind of woman. However, I believe I was supposed to go through everything that I was supposed to go through because, like I said, you could call it the God, goddess, universe, whatever. Something is always testing to see if you're willing to choose yourself instead. You think you got the love of your life, but the love of your life come with some certain circumstances that may cause you to dim your own light. And are you willing to do that? Or are you willing to say, nah, I deserve to see a better version of myself. I deserve to be around better people and better quality. It's up to you. You keep running into, like I've always said, like, everywhere you go, there you are. You're going to keep running into yourself, right? You're going to keep running into broken parts of yourself over and over and over and over again until you get it right. So I wanted to get out of the idea of performing womanhood and coming into my own version of what the fuck I think my womanhood should look like. Right? Creating my own moral code and expressing myself on social media in a way where I don't give a fuck about how I'm perceived by anybody, specifically men. But there are a lot of male-centered women who will also side eye you and be like, why are you talking like that? Oh, so you want to be raunchy today? So you want to be outspoken today? So you always feel like you got to be, yes. I'm going to always take up space. I'm going to always be who the fuck Tatiana is supposed to be. Right? I'm going to rock with my titties out. I'm going to do all of that because that's who the fuck I am. Period. And it doesn't take away from it doesn't take away from me being militant. It doesn't take away from me being smart. It doesn't take away from me still having this whimsical and childlike spirit to myself. It doesn't take away from me being quirky and, you know what I'm saying, curious about different kind of things. It doesn't take away from any of that. Womanhood is not linear at all. It's not linear. But I'm happy that I decided to choose myself over my circumstances because I feel like the more that I discover myself, the better I become blessed in ways that people don't get to experience. I didn't want to distract myself with a man. I didn't want to distract myself with a child. I didn't want to distract myself with staying at a job that I didn't like. I didn't want to distract myself with having my social media presence be curated in a way that makes people feel uncomfortable. If ever I put anything out, I want you to be uncomfortable with things that I say sometimes. Like, yeah, there are going to be certain instances where you agree, but there's going to be certain instances where you be like, this bitch. And that's perfectly fine. I want it to be that way. I want it to be that way. It should be that way with your interpersonal relationships that you have with your family and friends. You shouldn't like them all the time or like things about them all the time, but guess what? You still love them anyway. There are many people who I've experienced in this lifetime where I don't necessarily like the things that they do, but I still love them anyway because that's just them, and they have to go on their own. You know what I'm saying? They have to go on their own destination of figuring out who the fuck they are, and hopefully they ascend to be better people as well. But it's not my decision. The only thing that I can ever control in this lifetime is my motherfucking self. Right? That's the only thing I could. But back to the topic. I'm definitely going to list this woman's video either in the description or in the comments because I thought it was really dope. It gave me a time to really think about my life and how I've come to. And yeah, like I said, womanhood is a beautiful mess. It's very violently poetic. And it's beautiful, but it's so tragic at the same time. And I think women listening to this can understand. Um, I think we do probably experience two womanhoods. The womanhood in which the world perceives us, and the womanhood in which we look in the mirror and we start to recognize our true selves. Thank you.